What up? This is Rama Screen, and it's time for another celeb interview. And in the anticipation of Archenemy, which arrives in theaters and on demand and digital December 11th, I'm here talking with one of the stars of this new movie, Skylan Brooks. Skylan, how are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great, man. Having a good morning, man. Talking to you, discussing this movie, man. What's the
Aw-
deal?
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for taking the time. Now, uh, this is not your first rodeo with anything superhero theme. You've done The Darkest Minds, of course, before this or prior to this. But that's a different kind of superhero, right? I mean, Arch Enemy is less of a showcase of powers, it's more psychological. Can you
Mhm.
talk a bit about that? And what do you think it is about Adam's script that separates Arch Enemy from the rest of it in its genre?
Well, first off, it really discusses what it's like as a superhero to have emotions and that journey between like what do you do when you don't have powers and then you can't look as flashy or you aren't able to actually show people who you are saying you really are. So psychologically, like you said, like that's the big difference. And a big part of why I took this movie and said I really wanted to do it, like make a different kind of superhero movie. In a sense, it's also not a big superhero movie because there aren't a lot of flashy powers, but it does show you what it's like to have the heart or to redeem yourself as a superhero. And in difference to Darkest Minds, you know, as someone who kind of had powers, it was kind of cool to see the parallels, but also that they are very different in the sense that I felt like I contributed to the table and my character as Darkest Minds, but as far as an arch enemy, it feels like I kind of assisted a hero in a sense.
Well, yeah, let's talk a bit about that. Your character Hamster, he kind of lives under his sister's shadow, but he has this entrepreneurial mind that's so fascinating about him. So, are do you share some things in common with Hamster? Are you the kind of person who's like, you know what, I got this idea for a new app?
Sometimes I am like that. I would say more times than not. Yeah, I feel like me and Hamster, I kind of vibe with his sense of style, which is like it is kind of random. Like you don't know what the kid's gonna wear ever. He could walk outside with a plastic bag on his head and call it fashion in a sense, but um, and those are the days you're feeling like, man, what the heck, whatever. But I do feel like his sense of conviction and like wanting to tell the story and not letting anything else get in the way of that is where we really have that same mindset where it's like I want to kind of like have a passion for what I do, and if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it right 100%.
What do you think Hamster finds fascinating about this homeless dude named Max Fist? I mean, what draws Hamster to Max Fist other than his project? You know.
Yeah, I feel like that moment where people get to see him actually like see him for the first time is the moment where it clicks for him. But actually, around town in the story, there's word about a guy who's at a bar, this random guy popping up who's just drinking tons of whiskey, like enormous, huge amounts of whiskey for no reason. And he only goes in to just drink. And he talks about these wild stories where he's saying he's from a different dimension. And it's like, as a young teen going into his adulthood, but with his strange amount of like want to tell a story for a kid his age, he just takes hold of it and is like, well, maybe this guy can be my big break because of the virality of our society. So he kind of takes that into notice and he kind of puts that the two and two together and he says, maybe there is a story here. And he just goes out and recklessly decides to go with the homeless man, tell a story.
Joe Manganiello. I've met him once. I mean, but he looks totally unrecognizable in this movie. Usually, you'd expect him to play like a six-pack abs with lots of muscles, dashing macho roles on the big screen.
Yeah.
But seeing him as this in Arch Enemy is quite an experience. How was it for you collaborating with Joe in creating the on-screen dynamics between your characters? And did Joe give you any pro tips about working out and protein shake?
Um, I do remember, I do remember, we having a lot of discussions during like rehearsals for the film. So we at least had about a month to prepare where our characters were coming from. And I remember Joe, we just kind of like chatting and breaking down like where our backgrounds were from. And he's a theater guy and he used to be skinny, and then all of a sudden he got buff, and it was like the transformation of a lifetime. It was like, I want to be like that. But um, as far as tips and whatnot, um, we really came with what we had previously learned in our craft, like
Mm.
our own due diligence, and I really got to watch him transform. And when he transforms, he's really intense. So like, hence the role he's playing. Um, he's really intense, and he's very strong-willed in his sense of persevering and focus when it comes to the character. So um, I really enjoyed that. It really helped me make sure that it's like coming with the A game every day and just like bringing that same intensity to kind of parallel with him, go back and forth. I will say, when he was in character and he did have the costume on, he looks crazy. He looks insane. He gives the vibe where it's like, don't mess with this guy. So it was definitely it was a fun, crazy time working.
Yeah, he looks like he's really gone method for that performance here. Really cool.
Yeah.
So as I'm winding down, I gotta ask you this opinion because of Hamster. Like, what are your thoughts about our society and going the pursuit of virality? Like, oh, you gotta go viral, otherwise it won't matter. And sometimes that kind of makes some people feel small. You're like, oh, if my videos don't go viral, then it doesn't matter. It has no point of me posting this,
Right.
and stuff like that. What do you think?
I, as a person who, you know, went to school and grew up, seeing a lot of stuff like that went viral and like the reasons why it went viral, I feel like there's a sense of toxicity there when it comes to trying to reach this level of greatness that's kind of like, um I would say it almost makes it feel unattainable to organically bring things from the bottom to the top, But in a sense, I feel like the chase for virality is the problem. And I feel like we
Mm.
should reshape the standards at which we try to bring things to the forefront and make it feel relevant, because by making some things feel more relevant than others, you are putting down the majority in a sense. And it kind of glorifies that height of bringing something to the top. So I do wish that it would change. And I think the best way to help it change is for original content creators to kind of share their stories and let people know that they started off with an idea nobody cared about either until people started caring. So I think naturally, um, that's, we like seeing things have that progression. So hopefully over time, a lot more creators, and including myself, I'll definitely try and further that along when it comes to that.
All right, thank you for sharing that. So theme wise, if somebody comes up to you to ask you what this movie conveys or tries to convey, what would you tell them?
That's a great one. A little bit between that, superheroes do have emotions. I would say that they aren't just this super powerful person that you can just walk up to and be like, my hero. Like, they go through stuff too. And that trust is very important. I would say that without trust in this situation, with I would say the most unrecognizable pair of two human beings walking together. You got this kid who just looks crazy and has a ball full of energy, and you got a guy who's actually crazy due to his circumstances. And you would never see these two together. But I would say without trust and a bond, that they would not be able to take on the world together.
Final question, Skylan. What's next on your horizon, and will you be able to do those projects during this pandemic?
Uh, I hope so. I really do. But I do have, of course, Archenemy, you guys will see soon. I do have another film called No Running, which I can't wait for you guys to see that. It's like a sci-fi movie, another sci-fi thing. Where am I going with sci-fi? Nobody knows. But I have music. I have my EP that's gonna come out
Cool.
around, well, very soon, very soon. I got a music video coming out in the next week or two. So I would definitely say look forward to that. Look forward to that.
All right, for my fans at home, everybody go check out Arch Enemy in theaters and on demand and on digital December 11th. Skylan Brooks, thank you for talking to me. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.